Today on I Come First, we are diving into this fascinating realm with medicine woman Drea Aguilar. Drea is an embodied leadership coach, an exceptional psychedelic facilitator, and a dear friend of mine. With her masterful ability to hold space for profound healing through psychedelics and transformative coaching, she guides you to feel fully embodied in your leadership and your authenticity. Get ready to have your curiosity satisfied as we unpack the wisdom of plant medicines. This is definitely an episode that you will not want to miss. All right, all right. Oh my gosh, what a beautiful opportunity we have today. Welcome to the I Come First podcast. Drea, my dear friend and beautiful, beautiful conscious mama of the world that has supported so many women. Thank you for coming. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation. So let's get right to it. First and foremost, do a little snippet of how you arrived to where you're at sitting in this space today.
Oh goodness, a little snippet. Okay.
Renee.
A little bit about me. My name is Drea Aguilar. I'm an embodiment coach, a psychedelic facilitator, and a mother. And how I arrived here is the story of my mother journey. And at 2, I lost my mom to a heart attack. She was only 25, and we had just immigrated from South Korea to California. And at the same time, my dad could not bear the grief and actually abandoned me and left me with his sister to grieve. And so I have been on a journey of healing my abandonment wound. And a big catalyst for that has been my own motherhood journey and my own birth trauma that happened, and healing that somatically through my nervous system, healing my PTSD, depression, and anxiety through all of these beautiful modalities that, have been such a great influence in my life, and has really just in the last 5 years have completely changed the way I be, how I interact with the world, and how I communicate with myself.
First and foremost, thank you for sharing so openly and vulnerably. Wow, like my heart is just feeling so much compassion for your journey. And as a friend and colleague, being witness to each other's journey for quite a few years now, I feel so privileged. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Same, sister. Wow. And we have seen it all.
And one of the hot topics that is on the rise is this word embodiment, this term embodiment, specifically for women. It feels like, it's a common phrase used. It's, I'm an embodied woman, and you'll see like the dancing on the Instagram or the TikToks, and I'm all for dancing. Just I want to be very clear on that. I'm curious, in your perspective, what does embodiment mean to you? What is an embodied leader or an embodied feminine? What is that for you?
I absolutely love this question. And you kind of prompted me right before we hopped on. I was thinking about it, and, we spend so much time using 10% of our body, which is right here. And if you're not seeing us, it's from the neck up,
Right?
right? We spin our wheels in our thoughts, in our ego, trying to protect us all the time. And we forget that 80% of our intelligence lives below the neck. And so when we can tune in to ourselves by slowing down, getting present, and feeling connected, we can activate those intelligences from our heart, our womb, our pussy. Hopefully I can say that on here. And our feet. Can say, and even the intelligence of our feet that holds us, it keeps us grounded. It's feeling into the body, and it's intuitive knowing. Those little pains and those little, tense spots, that's all communication. That's all language, our body's speaking to us. And so in tune with that communication, we are in our body, embodiment. And yes, say the dancing's all great and feeling in and into ourselves, but there's another level to that. When we become an embodied leader, an embodied mother, an embodied sister, our embodied
Mhm.
friend, it is being able to hold the fullness of our lives with grace, with compassion and dignity and reverence, right? And then also being able to communicate from that place, which I'm still working on. And I feel that for me is embodiment.
I love that. I love that so much. And I really love that you brought it back to the nervous system and how it's always communicating. Our body is always communicating. Our heart space has incredible information to feed to us all the time. And I also love that you brought it to the feet, like that
Yeah,
grounded sensation of connecting not only to our own feet, but then to root into, we'll say, I'm gonna go a little woo, Pachamama, right? Really being in the earth and
right.
allowing ourselves to feel that heartbeat as well.
Mm,
And it is so important, that we listen to our intuition. And for most of my life, first off, the word intuition didn't exist. The word self-love didn't exist. I was
right,
so to that concept of, like, what are you even talking about? Because I was so programmed to believe that if I give everything outside myself, everyone else and everything, my full and divided attention and love and appreciation outside myself, that's what I was supposed to do. There wasn't an internal dialogue of filling up your own cup. That didn't exist for many decades. And so this concept of embodiment, right, bringing it into the body, the internal landscape, is powerful. And I'd like to add to everything you shared, which was extremely valuable, is it's the walking of the walk, right? I'm not just saying, oh, I'm this and I do these things. And I'm not just doing to check the box. Oh, I did my meditation. I did my dance. I did my journaling.
right.
I did my fill in the blank to say I did it and check the box. But it's how am I arriving on a daily basis? Like you said, when it comes to relationships, how am I showing up powerfully in relationship to myself, to
Yeah,
my friends, my community, my clients, my parents, my partners, my children, whatever it might be. It's
yeah.
that aspect of it. And to also, I have to put this in here because my brain goes, it's got to be perfect. And if I fuck up, I'm a bad human, I'm a bad person, right? So we are still human beings.
I love
And
that.
that comes responsibility.
Mm,
So, yes to the embodiment, yes to bringing all of that and walking the walk and remembering that we're human. So, let's have self compassion.
right.
And yeah, that we just get to take responsibility when we get into those ways of, reacting without actually
Yeah.
feeling first and going, oh, that's my own
All
shit
right.
coming up right now. Maybe I shouldn't say that to that person.
Yeah, all the time. I'd
Right?
like to add to
And
that.
so,
Yeah, I'd like to
go
add
ahead.
to this point
Yeah.
of checking the boxes, right?
Mm, please.
And it's like, if I meditate, then I'll feel better. When I go outside, then I'll feel better. When it's like, actually, we get to flip that around and like train ourselves. Those are all modalities in which we can do the reps to train ourselves to feel that way, to create those habits that then turn into lifestyle when you aren't even, thinking about it anymore. Oh, I have to be happy, right? It just is. I feel that would be like the true, like hitting that like pinnacle peak of embodiment is when you are being this way at all times. And it's okay. And giving ourselves that permission and grace to be human and fuck up, but also just like know that that is our new baseline feeling is that I can feel this
Yes.
peace, joy, and happiness and fulfillment at all times because I'm honoring who I am and why I'm here on this planet.
Yes. And like you were saying, it's building the practice, building the muscle to practice this because it's already innately in us and we forget. We forget that it already exists. Joy already exists innately within. Love already exists. Light already exists. We're so disconnected from it. So these amazing practices get to be a part of that so
Yeah.
that we can ignite it within. And I
Yeah.
love that you really brought this forward because I feel, and I'll speak from my own experiences, for a while when I was new to these practices and these ways of creating space to open up the love and life that's within me that I didn't really know was there because I thought it was an external thing. I was handing my power over to the meditation or the breath work or the yoga or the whatever the thing was that was fueling me. I was giving my power away versus going, I'm empowering myself. And this practice supports that amplifying of whatever that thing is that I desire more of from within. If I want to feel the joy that's available, sometimes, a practice can help amplify it, but know that it's not that doing the thing. It's me, you choosing that and then
Totally.
igniting it from the inside.
And I notice a lot of ways in which we can get in our own way when it comes to that type of practice is believing that it's hard. Oh, it's so hard.
Tell me
I
more.
hear this from my clients all the time. Oh, it's so hard doing this work. Oh, it's so hard loving this person. Oh, it's so hard being myself. We're already linguistically putting us in a box that it's impossible.
Yeah.
Or when we're saying we're trying, right? It's like, no, you are, my love. You're doing it right now. It's being in the moment and seeing yourself in this space of like, I'm there. I'm here and I'm in the space because I'm aware and making conscious decisions to feel more joyful, to feel more fulfilled, right? And it's not some like destination we're waiting to get to finally feel that feeling. It's in this now moment that you're creating that future memory, as Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it. So it's like really cultivating our language and attuning and nourishing and feeding into our body, and then also giving ourselves the capacity and space to relax our mind and regulate our emotions.
I love all of this. So, so, so important. And I really want to touch on the point that you said around it's so hard to be myself. Because, and again, I'm turning the mirror back on me to give it as an example of I pretended to be somebody I wasn't for so long. I pretended to be the good girl, the people pleaser. I put all these masks on because one, that's what I thought would get me what I wanted, which was to feel like I fit in, feel like I belong, feel appreciated, right? So I pretended to be all these things because I thought I was taught at a very young age, I was sensitive and too much. So all of those things said, you can't be yourself. So put all these other masks on to fit in. And so, yes, it was definitely, and still is a practice for me to be myself. And sometimes it is fucking hard. Because I'm like, oh shit, if I show up like this, how is it going to be received? And that's the game we get to play when we practice the muscle of I catch the thought. Am I being authentic and being me? Or am I pretending not to know or not to be something in for the sake of fitting in or getting something else in return, that love or that belonging sensation. So yeah.
I would just love to reflect to you, by the way, because we have known each other for so long, like the level of range that you are willing to go with your personality and your emotions and your vibrancy. Like it's so inspirational just to see like the range that Amie has. And I'm enamored by it. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. Like what if we were all this way? Too much, quote unquote, right? Or sensitive. It's just you having this like outward vulnerability that like gives a lot of people permission to be themselves.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I receive all of that. So thank you. Don't make me tear up. And it's interesting because as a child, that was a thing. Literally, constantly, it was, why are you crying, Amy? What's wrong with you? Like, this was a constant conversation. And I'm like, I don't know, right? And so I started to shut that off. And then as I grew into my own body, meaning embodied comfort of this is who I am, and I get to accept all of me, which is still an ongoing practice, to realize that vulnerability is a gift. Vulnerability and allowing people to witness is a gift for me to free myself of any of the guilt and shame I might be carrying around it. And like you mentioned, that gift of the permission slip for others. And so this is something I have got to practice being comfortable enough to go, okay, this is simply who I am. And I'm sharing my journey as a permission slip, as a way of going, hey, because I know I'm not alone. And I think I know that was my story most of my life. I'm alone. Nobody understands. Shut down, shut down, shut down. Disassociate, suppress, shut the world out, which created a lot of anxiety and depression.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Copy
thank you
paste.
for that. Copy paste. Yeah. I love that. So let's jump into the balancing, which is a weird word because one of our mentors firmly disagrees with the word balance. However, we'll just put it out there for the sake of the term. Balancing the masculine and feminine energy. Like what is to succeed in both professional and personal lives? Let's jump into that real quick.
Another word, maybe merge could be it.
I like to say harmony, but
for me, oh my goodness, this whole topic is something I've been absolutely working on by swinging all the way into one pendulum, then to the next. And then I'm like finding that balance. And what I'd like to share is I spent most of my life in my masculine. I was raised by my father, and my stepmother didn't teach me too much about being a girl. And so I thought that I had to prove myself through how I excelled. What was I succeeding in? I needed to be number one in everything, or I would be a failure. And that is really just like a mindset that my dad put in me.
A lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. I mean, it served me well. Like I've gotten so far, and with this mindset that of ambition and drive and motivation. And in college, I was given the compliment, which isn't really a compliment anymore, that I was the hardest person that person knew. The hardest working person that they knew. And I was like, oh, that's such a great compliment. No, I don't want to be the hardest working person anymore. Like that is not serving me. I'm a projector, 4 to 6 hours of work a day is my prescription for a successful and happy life. And so I worked super hard throughout my 20s, which led to alcoholism and addiction and like numbing out. And in my 30s, I worked 9 years in reality television as a producer. And in this industry where you cannot say no or you are easily replaced, that was another condition that was put on me. And I was like, okay. And so working 12 to 16 hours a day, accounting for every minute, every hour, every person, every meal, every hotel, every piece of equipment, every vehicle. I needed to know it all. I needed to know exactly how it was running. And then I finally quit that because I was depressed and anxious. And then I became a mother, and it just went all out the window. I can't account for anything. Can't keep track of any text messages or calls. I'm pretty sure a piece of my brain is missing. And it was also this invitation to really fully step into learning what it means to be in my feminine. I'm going to quote that. And being in that flow, right? In that stillness. And what I'm really working right now is the act of receiving, being in receivership. And so how I've been able to balance that as a mother, which is not very feminine, it's actually quite masculine, especially when you're a single mom, of keeping track of schedules and taking care of like our children and applying discipline and all these things, while also being an entrepreneur and then also a mother to many adult babies, i.e. my clients, requires a lot of balancing, juggling all the time. And when I'm not in balance, what happens is I get sick, I get knocked out, and I can't work for a month. And so I get to have these preemptive rituals and exercises and practices to put me in a place where I can hold it all. That comes back to embodiment, right? And for me, it is actually being quite masculine and strategic about my time, and having a schedule that is time blocked, that has prioritized the times in which I get to be in my feminine, which is the self-care, which is the stillness, the time with being in nature. And I say all that, I'm still a work in progress because my natural proclivity is to work, is to stay on top of it.
Well,
And
you're decoding decades of a pattern,
yeah, yeah,
and it's only been, a quarter of your lifetime probably, or something like that. So
yeah,
can you imagine trying to repattern 30 years, and you've been in the practice of this new way of being and living for, let's
yeah,
say, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. So
yeah.
it's that. And so again, we're back to compassion, and we're still human.
Yeah, but I mean, it's more like 4 years. Like, I didn't really understand
Whatever the
any of
time is.
this work, right? And it is so much, a part of the work that I get to do with my clients is, like, understanding and dismantling any of the conditions that made us believe that we had to prove ourselves through how hard we work.
Yes. Yes. And that's it. It's about the worth. I am only worth what I give, what I produce, right? That is my worth. And
Mhm.
it's unfortunate that that is what we are programmed to do
Right.
or to believe.
We're not human doings, we're human beings. And I think that's like the part of the
Exactly.
feminine that gets to be called forward, is to be in full love and acceptance and allowance of how we be and exactly where we're at in the present moment.
And that feels so alive for me right now as I'm hearing you say that. I'm like, the words are like ruminating inside me. I'm like, there gets to be a relationship between one's own masculine and feminine. It's
Yeah.
not one or the other. We exist here because both came in, right? Both had to uh, come alive and go online in order for us to be here. So it's that energy of respecting my own masculine and what actually serves and supports me in a way, because I'm a very efficient person, because similar to you, masculine was my underlying drive through my entire life, which I actually learned from my mother, not my father. And so, right, the irony there, when we say things like, I'll never be like my mom, or I'll never be like so and so, and we're like, oh, I'm just like them. uh,
Yeah.
right? And so it's
Yeah.
the acceptance. And then so it's the acceptance of what is, and then how do I work with it so that it actually works to my present day life, not the past programming, and be stuck in that vicious cycle of whatever the thing is that you might be going through: anxiety, depression, feeling alone, feeling not enough, stories that we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
And so, wow, all of that. Yes to
I
all
would
of
love to
that.
like add
I
and go back to my story. Um, when my father
please.
left, right? When he left, at the time of my mom passing, what did it do? What effect did that have on me, that baby girl who was like,
Mm,
well, I just lost everything. And the one thing, my whole world has collapsed. I don't even know where I am. I'm in a different country. Who are all these people? And then for the masculine to drop me has created a severe mistrust of the masculine, that it can't hold me, that it will eventually leave, or it will essentially or eventually just disappear. And so I've been unpacking this for like the last 7, 8 months of recognizing that I'd been so hyper focused on losing my mother and that maternal and that feminine, and working on that for the last, 37 years. Then to only finally be ready to be like, okay, but there's this other piece that has been running the show for so long, and I didn't even realize.
mm,
And how
mm,
it shows up is like it affects my money, it affects my relationships with men, it affects my relationships with women, because I have this like like bracing, like fear of let's run away before I get left and abandon before I abandon, right? Or get abandoned. So it's just been interesting to acknowledge that part of me and acknowledge that father wound that I have and how it is affecting all areas of my life, and bringing in awareness and consciousness to do the work to heal that masculine part of me so I can come back into balance.
May I ask a perhaps more personal question?
Sure.
Okay. So you spoke about how a few months ago, 7, 8, I think was the number, that something happened that maybe perhaps shined a light on this particular wound, this particular thing. What was that?
It was, I think, a combination of things. It just kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. You know what? I think it was actually when we were at Burning Man. It was like it was at Burning Man, and I had this really, really big hearing about my mother. And then when that felt like it had like lifted itself, I had this ceremony where I recognized, and this was with Sigrid and some other women, I had realized I never grieved or closed the book on the moment my mom died. I never said goodbye in my consciousness, in my conscious life. And I did. And then that was just like, well, now that that chapter is closed, here's all the rest of it. And then, I was also going through a relationship shift, some really bad like heartache, and recognizing that in my relationships, and I've realized this very recently, in my relationships with men, I have made them the villain. And I'm just going to be completely honest here, I have made them the villain. And it's almost like this dark feminine wants to defend all the men that have hurt women. And I use that resentment to hurt them or put them in this box that they're not ever going to be good enough. And they're always going to drop me, or they can't provide, or they can't take care of me. And what is the result? All the things that I've just, like made them out to be. And so it's been like, oh my God moment. Like, whoa, pause. Let's take a really big look here. And if there is the part that I'm calling in and desiring and wanting, the desire to be held, the desire for a man to be like, babe, I got you. Don't worry about it. You do your crazy little witchy thing over there, and I've got the rest. You're safe with me. I cannot wait to be called that. And how that gets to happen is doing that for myself, being the man in my relationship and saying, babe, I've got you.
And oh my gosh. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for going there. It's almost like full circle right now in the beginning of our conversation. We're back to embodying the masculine, feminine energy that exists within all of us to say, I've got my own back. I am not going to self-abandon. I've got my own back. And when my partner in shine shows up in the divine timing of whenever that is, that person will also be able to say that. And I'll be in receivership of it in a more authentic and truthful way, because I've owned my own internal of I've got me first.
Yep.
For me, that's the game. That's the medicine that I've been working with lately, because yes to all of it. Yes to all of it.
Beautiful.
Okay. Right? Gosh, we could just yammer on all day long. I do want to really touch on this very, I feel, potent question, because you are a psychedelic facilitator, and psychedelics have had extreme impact on my own life. The transformations, the deepest healings I've ever had have been under particular plant medicines. And so what would you say to a listener who might be interested or curious about psychedelics and what that could do for their healing journey, but they're scared to death to even like step into that arena?
I love this question. And I'll start
Ooh,
with this. I'll start with the scared to death part. That scared is a part of you that is unwilling to let go. It's the ego part of you that says, but wait, we are used to feeling this way every single day. I know that it's not really serving you and it's keeping you from your dreams and your desires. But we know that we won't die tomorrow if we just stay right here. And so it is, can we shift that fear, right? It's the same energy as excitement. And so just to see it as like a form of reverence that we're able to be in communion with all of this, all these medicines that nature has provided, right? Nature doesn't make any mistakes. Pachamama, Mother Earth, has created everything we will ever need. And it's all on purpose. And so, why these psychedelics are on the rise and becoming more popular, trending, is because we are shifting into the next level of our human consciousness. And how we do that is we can like start to play and manipulate the chemicals in our brain that bring us back to oneness, to a remembrance of who we are and why we're here. And it pulls us out and gives us this bird's eye view of like, oh, okay, I see. Earth, mama, life, it's all on purpose. There's all like, it's all for a reason. And it comes and enters in your life at specific times, these psychedelics, right? It's like that shoulder tap, and you're like, hey, are you ready? And you're going to keep hearing the voice, and it's going to keep showing up in your vortex because those are clues. And it's telling you, like, hey, I'm calling you forward. This is divine intelligence at its best. It knows exactly how to work with you and what you need so that you can elevate into the next iteration of your human being. And all of that to say is it's okay to feel scared. And in order to not feel as scared is to find the right facilitator that is going to walk you through this process. And that might look like going into the jungles of Peru. That might look like going to a small group ceremony or working one-on-one with a private facilitator who will pour in all their energy and attention on you. And so it's finding the right facilitator, the right set and setting that makes you feel the most safe to let go. I think it gets a little sticky when we're entering the space out of 1, desperation, 2, confusion, or 3, magic bullet, fix me. Those will not work. It will only make it a little bit harder before it gets better. And again, it's all perfect and it's all in good timing. I've had my ass handed to me when I thought I needed something to do it now, and I wasn't doing it for the right reason. But if you ask many questions, who's your facilitator? Where does this medicine come from? Why do you do this? And these are my intentions. Can you guide me and help me through my healing process? Once you have all those questions answered, let that settle in your body. Does this feel like a yes to me? Then you'll know. Right? And I mean, I could go on.
I know. I absolutely love that beautiful answer to those who are curious. And I'd like to invite in the simple curiosity is an underlying yes. The fact that you're asking the question, that's a listener might be saying, gosh, I thought about it, or I'm curious. That's already a portal that's just kind of cracking it open, right? Or like, open it, right? Even more. And, even for myself in my own journey, it was a clear, it's time. It was a clear, it's time. And I didn't understand what that meant because everyone said, oh, you'll know. there was already curiosity that I was kind of like deflecting, like, later. And then I was like, oh no, it's a yes, it's
Yeah,
time.
I love that.
And so, yeah, and it's different for everybody, like you said. It's totally different for everybody.
Yeah.
And let's say ayahuasca journeys and that for another podcast for sure.
Another conversation of our stories. I do want to add, like, I am finding such great benefit in the micro to low dose protocols when working with psychedelics. There are microdosing programs, and you can do it with different medicines, as well as like this introduction with low doses, just so that it can like really land in your body, and you start to build rapport and trust and a relationship with these medicines. I feel like we live in a culture that says we have to go real hard, do the heroic dose, full blast off, all these things, when it's like, actually, when we stay in like that middle place where we're still kind of human and in our body, we can actually retain and remember more, and 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 then actually like kind of like start to work that in your mind, and rebuild these new neural pathways of thoughts and beliefs, because you're still kind of sitting in your human. So that's all I have to say about that.
I haven't played no over microdosing, so thank you for that introduction to it. As we start to wrap up, because we are at time, what is time? First off, how can people connect with you outside of our podcast?
Awesome. The best way is through Instagram at conscious.mother. Again, that's at conscious.mother. If and when you follow me, just know that there are imposter handles that look like my name and aren't my name, and might ask you, beloved, for a reading. Please say no, just block them. I always have to say that, and it's awful. But you can also go to consciousmother.com. I offer private retreats, one-on-one work, which includes integration work, which is, I think, really important conversation for another day. I do group ceremonies for women, and also offer online microdosing protocols.
Amazing. And I will have all of that in the notes and the details for those who are listening. And Dre, what would you say your one I come first daily practices to take care of yourself and filling up your own cup?
I'm like, okay, because I want to do this. I come first. Orgasms.
Yes and yes. Yes. Daily?
Well, no, not daily. When required, when needed, for sure. But as a daily practice, I would say getting in cold water, cold showers, cold plunging. It is what helps me reset my baseline every day. And there's nothing more worse for your body to experience like the shock of cold. And so what happens is I get to regulate myself. So anything that comes at my way during the day isn't so reactionary. It's more like, well, I got it. Brace.
I love that. I love that. Kudos to you on the cold showers and the cold baths. I am not there yet. I've played, I've dabbled, not a regular practice. Don't know, full transparency, if it ever will be. However, perhaps if I had a pool or a place to put the tub, maybe it would be. Maybe someday. Well, anyway, thank you so much for sharing everything here. My gosh, so much insight, so much information. Please, everybody, go and follow Drea. She's an epic human being. She's a beautiful mama, and her heart is just always on fire to serve and support human beings. And so, yes to all of it. Thank you for being here. We definitely got to come back and do some more conversations around specifics of the psychedelic practices and things like that. And until next time, have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day, and I will see you soon. Thank you.